they should have to come out and speak to us, because the next step that needs to be taken is either they come out and speak after the game, or we go down the rugby union sort of avenue of referees and we mic the referee up and we hear what they say on the pitch.
Didn't they do that in Australia?
Yes, and it worked very, very well because it was so clear. It was relayed round. I think it was actually just to the TV audience, wasn't it? What was said and what was relayed back to the fourth from the VAR booth to the referee. But then also, what I feel is that bring your captains in, bring both captains in, speak to them. This is what we've seen. This is what we've got. This is the decision that we've come to. Both captains walk away. If any players are asking, they're told straight away by the captain what's happened. And I think you get a respect then on the pitch. What I'm finding is that there's an us v them situation now. The referees are almost taking themselves away from the players. You have to build relationships on the pitch between players and the officials.
Yeah, I think it's a very complex area. Of course it is. The officials needed some help because of the pace of the game, the marginal calls that have to be made, the money that's involved in the game. You know, a referee gets the decision wrong and it leads to a goal or it leads to a disallowed goal, whatever. And people start saying, well, you know, this is costing big clubs big money. So the officials needed some help. The goal line technology has been brilliant. VAR coming into it hasn't worked anything like as well because it is still subjective. But what I would like to know is what the decision-making process was with that Fabinho penalty. You know, what was the actual route that VAR, and by the way, they're sat hundreds of miles away in Stockley Park near Heathrow Airport in London, you know, just totally divorced from where the stadium is and where the action is, which is why I think that, you know, the referee on the day must visit the monitor, because then everybody feels that the referee who the incident has happened in front of then has the benefit of looking at it on the monitor to help his decision-making process. Yes, he is spoken to by Stockley Park as well, or whoever is in charge of VAR or the VAR that day. But what is the process? Because, you know, if I am alive and breathing now, then that decision was wrong. And I am alive, I am breathing, and I'm sorry, that decision was wrong in all aspects.
Well, another aspect of this that I want to discuss would be what Stephen said, with accountability. Do you want referees to come out and issue statements about why a decision was made? Perhaps release the audio, which I'm sure is recorded, the conversation between the VAR officials in Stockley Park and whoever the match official is at any given stadium within the Premier League. Can that be a solution?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it could be highly valuable. You know, I just said I'd like to know what the process was. And I don't know what the process was because I'm not privy to, as nobody else was privy to, the conversation between VAR and today's match official. You know, I just don't know what is being said between the two of them. And, you know, does ultimately VAR say, in our opinion, it's a penalty because there is contact, it's a foul and it's inside the area? Or, you know, do they actually say it has to be your decision, referee? We believe that if you've called a foul and you still believe in that, then we are confirming it's inside the penalty area. I just don't know what was being said, and I think that would help if we did know.
Well, the big thing for me, Gary, is it shouldn't be a secret, should it? Because if they're the laws of the game, what are they hiding from us? They've got nothing to hide, and if they've got an explanation as to why they've given a penalty, and that is within the laws of the game, then tell us, educate us, because I mean, the funny thing is that myself and you played the game, but we still feel like we don't know the laws of the game with everything that's going on at the moment. So we almost need to be educated by the audio. I think that's a brilliant idea. to release the audio, especially more so on big incidents in games where there is so much debate about it. Bring that audio out. My other thing, and I don't know where you sit on this, Gary, would be ex-players within the VAR booth.
Yeah, I think there is some real value in having ex-players involved. The only one potential problem with that is that players are associated with certain clubs from whoever they played for. And, example being, if you were a Manchester United player, bearing in mind the rivalry between Manchester United and Liverpool, are you even unconsciously biased against that club? So it brings out potentially other issues and problems. But I do believe that the officials are straight and honest. They make what they think is the right decision. Let's be honest, Stephen, you and I can watch a game and I can say that I thought Jota's contribution was exceptional today. And you would say, well, actually, Gary, I've watched the same game and I see Jota's contribution as no more than average. So we are two ex-players and we see it differently as far as that is concerned. So we are going to see certain challenges as being different. You see it as a foul, I see it as not a foul. So, the game is subjective and it's always going to be.
Referees, by the way... sorry, go on.
All I was going to say, though, is if you are on a talk back and the fans can hear what you're saying, that bias can't come into it because you are accountable then. And from my point of view, I wouldn't want to be biased. I wouldn't want that in the game of football. I want the game to be... I want people to talk about me in a positive light. I want them to say, God, wasn't Stephen Warnock right when he gave Man United a penalty or when he gave Everton a penalty? Because it was the correct decision to make. Referees they are fans of football clubs. They have a bias in a certain way as well. They've grown up supporting the club. That doesn't suddenly disappear out your system. So there's a lot that can be worked on in that way. But by opening that channel up, I think it makes it so difficult to be biased in that way.
I was going to just chip in there because Gary was saying the allegiance of players to a team. I mean, I think Mike Dean, doesn't he support Tranmere Rovers? Doesn't Howard... He supported Rotherham, yes. Howard Webb supported Rotherham, if I'm correct. It's all off the top of my head, Gary, but quite famously so. But just don't get involved in those matches, really.
Well, yeah, I hear that and I understand that entirely. I was just throwing into the equation what other additional problems could, come into it, where people start to say, well, you know what it's like these days. A referee happened to go and watch a game purely as a neutral spectator, and he's accused of being a fan of one of those teams because he was there to watch it. I think it's difficult, without doubt. Even if you are not consciously biased, I think we all have subconscious bias within us because we've kind of been programmed by something from the past. It's a dangerous area. And I don't know how we get out of it. But I think what Stephen has suggested, by hearing the discussion between VAR and the referee would actually make it a lot clearer for everybody as to the process that they've used to come up to and make the decision.
Another aspect which confuses me, Stephen, about the whole process of refereeing a football match is we hear from the managers before and after a game. We hear from the players involved. We hear from absolutely everybody. We hear from pundits who've played in every single position, not just here in Astro SuperSport, but across channels from Australia all the way to America. But when it comes to referees' opinions and their thoughts, we got Howard Webb doing a little bit of TV work. We have Dermot Gallagher doing a little bit of TV work. That's about it, really. Mark Clattenburg, I believe, has a column in a newspaper. There's really not much out there. Surely this must be something they need to address to be more at one with the fans, because the referee is as much a part of a football match as the players.
Well, they can make a game, and they can make a game good or they can make a game bad in the way that they referee it and the decisions that they make. I mean, you look at some decisions that can change a football game. They're huge. And again, it comes down to educating people on why the decisions have been made and what the decisions, or what the law of the game and why that decision was made within the game, and be accountable for the mistakes that you make. And I mean, you look at, I'm going to just give you an example here, but you look at David Coote, who was the VAR referee for the Liverpool and Everton game in the Merseyside derby, misses the incident with Jordan Pickford. And his sort of, his punishment is to referee in the Championship the week after. Now, I don't see that as a punishment. He actually refereed the day after the derby as well in the Premier League. Now, again, that's not a punishment, refereeing a game. Because if we make a bad decision in a game of football and we get sent off, we miss games and we become accountable for our mistakes. I don't think the punishments are severe enough within the Premier League. Now, does that come down to the depth of quality of referees within the Premier League? I'm not so sure.
This might go back a little while. Have you ever been to Stockley Park, Stephen, particularly when they introduced VAR and they invited members of the media to come and experience what it was actually like?
No, I mean, I've been to Stockley Park many a time, and I've spoke to various officials at Stockley Park before and after games when they are available to speak, because often they're locked away during games. But I haven't actually been to the meetings. I've had messages relayed of the way that they go about things, but I think it's definitely something that I want to do. I want to go down and see what the process is and how it works. But I work every Monday morning on a show in England with Dermot Gallagher on a show called Ref Watch, and we talk about the incidents from the weekend and what happens. And these are Ref Watch was brought in before VAR, and it was to talk about talking points that referees had missed. And I don't know why we call it Ref Watch anymore. It might as well just be called VAR Watch and VAR's bad decisions, because of the way that every single Monday morning we have more talking points now about VAR decisions than we do about incidents that ever occurred on the football pitch.
I will just share one thing from my perspective in this, in that I'm the only one that's actually done it in our little panel here. I've done the course. I went to Stockley Park and I was briefed, and I got to sit in the room, the exact room where everything is made for the Premier League, all the decisions. I got to make my own decisions. I got to hear what was said in an actual match. I've heard the recording between the VAR official and the match official, and I will be honest, it cleared up a lot for me. So I'm just waiting to see if perhaps one day this will ever be released for general consumption, Gary.
Well, on that basis, especially having heard what you've just said, it would make sense to do that. I've said I would like to know what the process is. I'd like to hear it in action, in effect, in real time, even if that is, a week after a particular game. Some examples. If that is fed out ultimately in the right manner, through the right channels to the football watching public, I really think it would be a beneficial thing. Makes 100% sense to me.